Okay, so e-bikes are everywhere these days, right? I see them buzzing around, and I have to admit, I'm pretty intrigued. But I'm also a little overwhelmed by all the tech talk, especially when it comes to those Bosch Smart Systems.
Yeah, there's a lot going on under the hood.
Right. So you're thinking about joining the e-bike revolution. Good choice. But before you do, we need to decode those mysterious Bosch motor modes. What are they? How do they work? And most importantly, how can they take your rides to the next level? Well, in this deep dive, we're ditching the jargon and getting straight to the heart of what makes these modes so special.
It's like having an e-bike for every mood.
Exactly. And to guide us through this electrifying landscape, I've got an expert riding shotgun. They've spent countless hours exploring the ins and outs of Bosch systems, so we're in good hands.
Let's just say I've learned a thing or two about what makes these bikes tick.
Perfect. So before we start talking modes, let's quickly get everyone on the same page. What exactly is the Bosch Smart System, and why is it such a big deal in the e-bike world?
It's the brains of the operation. Well, the brains and the nervous system all rolled into one. It seamlessly connects the motor, the battery, the display, and a bunch of sensors to create an incredibly smooth, powerful, and customizable riding experience.
Okay, so it's like a symphony of technology all working together to make your ride awesome.
Precisely. And just like a symphony has different movements, the Bosch system has different motor modes.
And those modes are what give you the control to fine-tune the level of assistance the motor provides, right?
Exactly. It's like having different gears for your electric assist, each one optimized for a specific type of ride.
So instead of just one setting, we've got options, which is awesome.
Absolutely. And with Bosch, you've got 5 distinct modes to choose from: Eco, Tour, Sport, Auto, and Turbo, each with its own personality and purpose.
Wow, 5 modes. So you're saying I can have 5 completely different e-bike experiences just by switching between those modes? That's amazing. But where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with Eco mode, the king of conservation.
Okay, eco mode. Is this the mode I want if I'm picturing a leisurely ride along a scenic bike path, just enjoying the view and feeling the breeze?
You got it. Eco mode is all about maximizing your range, so it's perfect for those longer rides where you want to conserve battery power and maybe get a little workout too. It's like having a gentle tailwind at your back.
I like the sound of that. But how much assistance are we actually talking about in eco mode? Is it still noticeable?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the motor is like a riding partner who's taking about 40% of the workload. You're still putting in the effort, but the motor is there to make those long stretches feel a little less daunting, especially on those gradual inclines.
So it's not like I'm just along for the ride. I'm still pedaling and engaged, but with a little help from my friend, the motor.
Exactly. You're an active participant enjoying the scenery and fresh air, but with a little extra support to keep you going.
Okay, eco mode, I'm sold. But what about those times when I'm not necessarily trying to break any distance records, and maybe my ride involves a few hills just to keep things interesting?
Well, that's where tour mode comes in. It's like the all-rounder, the mode you'll probably find yourself using most often for those everyday rides.
Okay, intriguing. How would you describe the tour mode experience? What's it like?
So picture this. You're cruising along, enjoying the ride, and then boom, a hill. In tour mode, the motor kicks in so smoothly, it's almost like it can read your mind. You'll glide up that hill without breaking a sweat.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like I suddenly developed superhuman cycling abilities.
Yeah.
But tell me, is my battery going to vanish into thin air if I'm using all this extra power?
That's the beauty of tour mode. It strikes that perfect balance. It gives you a solid boost. I mean, it's a significant amount of assistance, but it's also designed to be super efficient. You'll still get a really impressive range, especially compared to some of those other modes that are a little more power hungry.
Tour mode. The Goldilocks of e-bike modes. Not too much, not too little.
Thanks.
Just right. I love it. But now you've got me curious about this auto mode, the one that supposedly takes all the thinking out of it. How does that even work? Does it actually read my mind too?
Well, maybe not your mind, but it does read the situation. Auto mode is where the Bosch system really flexes its intelligence. It uses a torque sensor, so it can actually tell how much effort you're putting into pedaling, and combines that with data about the incline of the terrain you're on.
Wow. So it's like having a personal e-bike assistant who's always one step ahead, anticipating my needs.
You got it. Let's say you're cruising on a flat bike path. Auto mode might hang back in eco mode to conserve battery power, but the second you hit that incline or start pedaling a bit harder, it'll seamlessly shift into tour mode, maybe even sport mode if you're really putting in the effort, to give you that extra boost.
This auto mode is starting to sound like a game changer. But let's talk about those times when I do want to take control, unleash a bit more of that e-bike power. That's where sport mode comes in, right?
Yeah. Sport mode is where things start to get really fun. It's designed for those rides where you crave a little more excitement, a little more zip.
So paint me a picture. Give me a scenario where sport mode would be my go-to.
Okay, picture this. You're out riding with friends, maybe some of them are on traditional bikes, and there's a pretty challenging hill coming up. Sport mode is your secret weapon to power up that hill with a smile on your face, leaving everyone else wondering how you make it look so easy.
I love it. I can already feel the adrenaline. I actually remember seeing a video online of someone on an e-bike flying up this crazy steep hill, but it had to be sport mode. It looked exhilarating.
That's sport mode for you. It just gives you that extra surge of power, whether you need it for a hill or just want to add a bit of thrill to your ride.
Sport mode check. But okay, let's talk battery life. Is it going to drain before my eyes if I'm using sport mode all the time?
You'll definitely notice a difference compared to eco or tour mode, especially if you're pushing it. My advice: use sport mode strategically, engage it on the parts of your ride where you need the extra power, and then you can always ease back into tour or eco mode when you're on flatter ground.
Smart. Save that power for when you really need it.
Okay, so we've covered eco, tour, auto, and sport. That leaves us with turbo mode. I have to be honest, I'm almost scared to ask.
Don't be scared. Just be ready for a serious rush. Turbo mode is like strapping a rocket to your bike. It really unleashes the full force of that Bosch motor.
Okay, you're killing me. How much power are we talking about here? In turbo mode, it's like having 3 extra people pedaling alongside you. You'll be amazed by how fast you can accelerate from a standstill and conquer even the most impossible hills. But, and this is a big but, that kind of power does come at a price.
Let me guess. Battery?
You got it. Think of turbo mode like that shot of espresso. It's a quick burst of intense energy and excitement, but it doesn't last forever. It's best saved for those short bursts when you need maximum power or just want to experience the full thrill of what your e-bike can really do.
The sports car of e-bike modes. Fun for a joyride, but maybe not the most practical for everyday use. I can definitely work with that analogy.
Exactly. It's all about choosing the right mode for the job.
Okay, turbo mode, the e-bike equivalent of a rocket booster. I'm putting that on my list of things to try, but maybe after I've had a chance to play around with those other modes first.
Yeah, turbo mode is definitely an experience.
So we've covered all 5 Bosch modes: Eco, Tour, Auto, Sport, and Turbo, each one offering a totally unique riding experience. That's amazing. But I have to admit, with so many options, I'm kind of wondering how I'm supposed to know which one is right for me on any given day.
Well, it's kind of like you wouldn't wear the same thing to a casual backyard barbecue that you would to a fancy dinner party. Really.
True. Very different dress codes.
Exactly. And e-bike modes are kind of the same way. The cool thing about the Bosch system is that you can totally customize your ride to whatever you're doing. Like, let's say you're planning a chill weekend ride with friends, maybe exploring a bike path. Eco or tour mode would be perfect for that. You could just enjoy the scenery, chat with your friends, and you won't have to worry about your battery dying halfway through.
Makes sense. Choose your e-bike outfit based on the occasion.
Yeah.
But what if my weekend plans involve getting a little mud on the tires, tackling some off-road trails?
That's when you might want to bring out the big guns sport mode, maybe even turbo mode if you're feeling adventurous.
So it's all about finding that perfect match between the mode, my riding style, and, what I want to get out of the experience.
You got it. And don't forget about auto mode. It's a game changer, especially if you're new to e-bikes or you just want to keep things super simple. Auto mode takes all the guesswork out of choosing the right level of assistance for you.
Auto mode, like having a personal e-bike assistant. That's awesome. We've covered a lot of ground here, but I do have one more question for you. Range anxiety is a real thing, even for us e-bike newbies. What are some things riders can do to maximize their range, regardless of which mode they're using?
That's such a good question because nobody wants to get caught with a dead battery. Battery technology has come such a long way, but range is definitely something to keep in mind. One of the simplest things you can do is pedal efficiently, even though you have a motor. You'll get way more mileage out of your battery if you try to maintain a smooth, consistent pedal stroke.
It's all about working with the motor, not just relying on it to do all the heavy lifting. Okay, what else? What about tire pressure? That's always a big deal with regular bikes.
Huge. Keeping your tires properly inflated can make a world of difference because it reduces that rolling resistance. Less rolling resistance means less work for you and less work for the motor. So check that tire pressure regularly and always inflate to the recommended PSI.
Got it. Efficient pedaling? Check. Tire pressure? Check. What else can we do to squeeze out those extra miles?
Well, it might sound obvious, but packing light can actually make a difference, especially if you're going to be tackling some hills.
It all adds up.
Oh, and here's one you might not expect. Try to anticipate your stops and starts. Every time you come to a full stop, you use up more battery power to get going again. So if you see a stop sign ahead, maybe try to coast to a stop instead of slamming on the brakes.
All those little things really do add up. This has been incredible. I feel like I've gone from e-bike zero to e-bike hero in the span of an hour.
I love it, but the best way to really learn is to get out there and experience it for yourself.
Right. Knowledge is power, but nothing beats hitting the open road or the trails and feeling that e-bike magic firsthand. So for our listeners who are ready to take the plunge, what's the best way for them to figure out which Bosch system and which mode is their perfect match?
Honestly, nothing beats going to a local e-bike dealer and actually taking a few different models for a spin. There's really no substitute for feeling the difference between those modes firsthand.
Yeah. Try before you buy. And don't be afraid to ask questions while you're there. Those e-bike experts have seen and heard it all, and they're there to help you make the best decision.
Exactly. They're a wealth of information, and they want to help you find the perfect bike that fits your lifestyle.
Awesome. So as we wrap up this electrifying deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
You know, I think a lot of people see e-bikes and they think it's all about making cycling easier. And yeah, it can definitely do that. But what I really want people to understand is that e-bikes are about so much more than that. They can open up a whole new world of possibilities, whether it's exploring new places, keeping up with friends, or just rediscovering that pure joy of riding a bike.
It's like you always say, it's not cheating, it's just more fun.
Exactly. And with the Bosch Smart System, you have the power to really personalize that experience, whether you want to conserve energy, conquer hills, or simply enjoy the ride.
It's all about finding that perfect ride. Well, a huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise with us today and for taking us along on this electrifying journey.
This was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, we'll catch you on our next deep dive. Until then, happy riding.
The Herd Podcast is produced by the Gazelle International Owners Group on Facebook. The managing editor and executive producer is Gary Fujioka Sr.